I am driving home from the big event. Of course, I'm tired, but it's a weird kind of tired. Not really sleepy, although I am getting drowsy and sleepy intermittently, so I find myself pulling over quite a bit and going to sleep, but I can't seem to go to sleep for any more than a few minutes at a time. That being said, it's probably going to take me almost as long to drive home in a car from the west coast of Florida as it did for me to ride my bike out there, which is kind of strange. Anyway, had a good lunch and I'm just taking my time to get home. Not planning on doing much of anything else other than that today. A couple of questions. Would I do this event again? Obviously that was my first time doing this cross Florida time trial thing. The answer is more than likely yes. It was a very good experience. Thought it was pretty cool. Next question. What was the most amazing thing that I thought about the whole event? Well, actually there were two things. Number one, the people at Shrimps R Us in Willaca. I don't know why in my previous updates I said Wacala. I guess I got that backwards. Anyway, Mr. Wynn and Mr. Stringer, the owners, I hope you watch this, and if you are, I want to say once again a huge heartfelt thank you for your kindness and hospitality. That really struck a chord with me. You guys and your staff, awesome people, man. It's like I said, you don't see that stuff anymore in our society. At least I don't very often. Thank you. That was fantastic, and it really it was kind of a pivotal point in my decision in continuing on at that point in the race, or just figuring out how am I going to get home at that point and just abandoning the second half. That to me was your act and that of your employees and so forth was a most amazing thing. Next thing I found that was really amazing too was all the work and planning and so forth that Carlos Bernhardt put out just to create, not only create this event, but to create the route and the course. I mean, my goodness, that I can't imagine, or I can only imagine the amount of legwork and research and everything that went into planning that. I mean, there were parts on this course where I'm literally miles and miles from anywhere, out in the middle of, I don't even know where, woods somewhere, and, you know, I'm on a trail, and there might be, like, the obvious thing would be to, you know, keep going straight on this trail, but the route has you going, you know, off in a different direction or making a U-turn here or something, and you gotta find this landmark. Like, Carlos, man, how the heck did you find some of this stuff? I was, like, blown away by the layout and the routing. It was just so amazing. It kept hitting me back over and over and over again. I mean, it's just crazy. Like, some of the most remote areas you would think of, Carlos has been through there on his bike or something and figured out a way how to connect them all. I mean, that was just genius. Just pure genius. So Carlos, if you're watching this, I'm sure at some point you'll see it. Man, hats off to you, my friend. That was some killer organization and research and planning, man. I don't see anybody could have done anything better like that. And my wish for you or to you would be that your event here, man, that thing needs to blow up big time. I mean, more people need to, I think, see what this thing is all about, and that was truly, to me, a world-class type of event, world-class type of course, and it needs to be seen and viewed and recognized as such. Next thing is, would I have done anything differently? Well, yeah, for one, I would have planned better. I really didn't do what I would say proper planning for this. I kind of just winged it. And as I learned, this is not something you can really wing it. You got to plan and plan meticulously to execute something like this successfully. One of the things I screwed up on is I brought a GPS unit, one that I'm not familiar with, and never really took much time to even figure out how to use the thing. Luckily, it was, for the most part, pretty self-explanatory. But the one thing I noticed in the race is the GPS has a zoom in, zoom out feature, on the screen, and I overlooked the fact that you have to keep using that feature. Wherever, I was told by Carlos and one other person at the start of the race, is like, when you get to an area that looks like it might have a tight turn or something, you need to zoom in all the way down to like the 20-foot magnification of the map, because if you don't, you're very likely gonna miss a turn. And one thing that I noticed is I got stuck in this mode where I would assume that, okay, I'm on this road or I'm on this trail, and I'm assuming that, okay, we're gonna be on this road and it's gonna go this way, or I'm gonna turn here. Do not assume anything at all, because Carlos, with his genius routing, has you going off the beaten track and making a turn or something at the time when you would least expect it. And this is one of the things why I missed so many turns. Even to the very end of the race, I still missed a couple of turns. And you would think after being on the bike for so many hours and covering over 200 miles that I would have figured that out by then. But no. Man, I had to just tell myself to constantly look at that GPS, because otherwise, man, you'll end up way off course. So yeah, that's one thing I would do differently, is prepare better, really familiarize myself with all my equipment. If, in this case, like I had a GPS that I wasn't too familiar with. Another thing too is I would have really studied the course ahead of time a lot better than I did. The event website had a cue sheet, basically, if you want to call it that, like a route instruction, which I downloaded and printed out. Man, this thing was like 7 pages long, and I really didn't, I kind of speed read through the whole thing, but I didn't really study it thoroughly like I should have. And that was important, because like a lot of the checkpoints, I was totally clueless on the checkpoints, and I know I missed some. I know there was some mandatory checkpoints that I was supposed to stop at and I didn't, because especially on Thursday night, it was raining and I was trying to just get to that ferry in time, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose time if I backtrack or if I have to stop and study something to figure out where a checkpoint is. So at one point with some of the checkpoints, I just said, screw it, I'm just going to keep going to get to my destination. Of course, I still missed the ferry, but anyway. So that's something that definitely would have needed to plan and prepare on much better.